Okay, I believe we're live. So, welcome to the first 51-day challenge weekly live Zoom or live stream. This is where we're trying to help people lose fat after 40 or 50 or wherever you are and improve your health along the way. So, today, being the first one, I'm not sure we've got too many starters just yet, but I have got something in mind where I wanted to run through and do what I'm going to call a diet roast. And just before that, I'll give you a quick rundown of the philosophy of losing weight after a quick story. Now, my story, I'm 55 and I have steadily, as in my 20s, I was an athlete. All right, I did my knee back then. I had a reconstruction, went through that, but then I played cricket and other sports along the way. And through my late 20s, 30s, I gradually put on weight. All right, till I got to my 40s, went through a divorce, blah blah blah, and then I kind of packed it on in my early 40s. I got up to a top weight of 106 kilograms, which is 235 pounds, maybe, being metric here. I'm 6 foot tall, or, well, I'm wearing down at the heels with age, but yeah, I'm 6 foot tall, so I'm not short. And, big belly, man boobs, no bum and skinny legs. I had full metabolic syndrome. And I got to that point and my face looked like a balloon and I was just don't take that the wrong way if you're up there, but that's just how I felt. I said I cannot let this go on any longer. So what I did was I started cutting out the sugar and started throwing around different diets. And of course, back then I was a lot more active than I am with my knee injury today. Um, and I did start to come down, and I'd come down a bit. I'd do a bit of a fast, or I'd go on a hard diet. I'd come down, and then I'd fall off the wagon and just put it back on again. But not quite as much. But I'd worked my way down over several years to under 100, and I'm going, yes, all right, got to get down to 85 now, which is my target weight, and we'll see where I'm at from there, whether I've still got a belly or not. Um, but I got to 98 and it hit a floor. I could not lose any more than that. If I went under, it'd go straight back up and then back to 100. So I was dancing between 98 and 100 kilograms consistently, no matter what I did. And I got pretty disheartened because I actually did. I don't know if you have heard of it, the 75 Hard, which is a program by Andy Frisella, I think his name is. I can't remember now. But basically, you had to do two 45-minute workouts, one of which is outside, 3 hours apart. So that's twice a day you're working out. Now, I did, with my bad knees, I did cycling and swimming because we had the pool in the backyard there. Swimming for 45 minutes straight. I used to do laps around the pool rather than up and back. You'd sort of go along to the shallow end turn just before, go across, and then work your way through. Um, I actually got a lot fitter, and with that, you've got to stick to a strict diet. Now, I did the carnivore diet, and I was strict. I never cheated once in that 75 days. You had to read a book and drink 4 litres of water a day, and I can't remember what the other one was, but it was pretty strict. I had to take photos every day as progress, side and front. And I'm going through this thinking, right, with that diet, that amount of exercise and all that, I should lose a ton of weight. And I didn't. And I was like, halfway through, I'm going, what's going on? Wondering what the hell it was. And I finished the 75 Hard. I did it. All right. I didn't miss a beat. Mind you, at 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I was out there doing the laps to get the second workout in because we had to drive to the city or something. But yeah, I did that as a personal challenge and got through it. But out of all of it, I think I started at 99.8 and finished at 98. which was pretty disheartening. Now, in hindsight, I worked out why, and which is the first step into understanding the philosophy of losing weight. I used to buy from the local meat specialist here. I'm Australian, but I live in the Philippines, so quality meat is hard to come by sometimes. They had bacon offcuts, right? And they come in a big bag, and you'd cook them up, and it's just like normal rasher bacon. But we worked out that it was marinated, and it had a nice flavour. But we worked out that that marinade was packed with sugar, right? And that was undoing everything that I was trying to achieve by going through these 2 workouts a day, blah, 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 the 75 hard. And the revelation that I came up with from that is because I'd have bacon not every day, but I'd have it for maybe lunch, and then because I never had breakfast, I had my bacon and eggs for lunch, which is part of the carnivore diet. But with that sugar in there, it would spike my insulin, right? And insulin is the fat storage hormone. All right, so if you've got elevated levels of insulin in your blood, that's there to push your blood sugar into your cells to either use for energy or store for later use, i.e., put fat on. So insulin is a fat storage hormone. Now, because I was spiking insulin every day or every other meal, I couldn't lose weight because that was in my system. Now, with a carnivore diet, normally that sugar wouldn't be there. You'd have bacon, which is fat and protein. You'd have a ribeye steak, which is fat and protein. You'd have eggs, which is protein and a bit of fat, a minuscule amount of carbs. Butter is completely fat if you get the good stuff, not margarine. Margarine is basically like drinking motor oil. It's disgusting and it's so bad for you. But if you get the butter, which is, and I get the salted one, which is salt and milk fat. That's it. It's fat. You will have zero sugar going in your system. So whenever you eat, your insulin response will be like this instead of this when you eat sugar. So carnivore is the best diet to be on if you want to lose weight. And I've since done so, understanding that that bacon ruined everything. And it's like that in many ways. You might be having one thing in your diet thinking you're doing the right thing that's got some sugar in it, or it's got carbs in it, which is very similar to sugar because it turns into sugar in your system within 10 minutes and spikes your insulin. So that's the key concept, is understanding that monitoring or managing the level of insulin in your system is key to actually losing weight, because your body burns two different fuels. It burns sugar or glucose, right? If it's in your system, it burns that, full stop. Once your sugar gets out of your system, if you cut it out, you stop drinking your soft drinks or your diet sodas, they are worse than full strength because of the artificial sugars and so forth in there are very bad for you. Get off all of the soft drinks and the sugars and the carbs, which is your pasta, your potatoes, your rice, your pastries and things like that. I mean, I don't know if I got the whole list there, but you get used to not eating them, okay? Because when you are actually having carbs and sugars, it gives you an insulin spike, which gives you a burst of energy because that's pushing that sugar into your system. And 2 hours later, you're having a crash and you go, oh God, I'm starving. Okay? Like the old example of going to work. In the morning, you might run out the door having 2 bits of toast with margarine on it, which is like carbs, which turns into sugar, and engine oil, which is really bad for your system, your inflammation and your joints and so forth. So you run out the door, you've spiked your insulin. You get to work, you're working away, and at 10 o'clock you hit a wall and you go, oh man, I'm so tired. Have a milk and coffee, of course. Your insulin then turns back up and goes higher than it did before. Okay, sorry, I've got the sniffles today. And then lunchtime comes and you might have your leftover carbonara from the night before, which is fully pasta, carbs. Again, your insulin turns around and starts heading up. After lunch, it starts heading down. You might have another coffee with milk. And can you see all day? And then when you get home, you have a big meal. Okay, all day your insulin's getting higher and higher and higher until you stop eating at night. Your insulin starts coming down, and then you have a 10 o'clock snack before you go to bed, which spikes your insulin back up. So in theory, that's supposed to come back down overnight and start back in the next morning where it started the night before. But sometimes, because you've jacked it up so high, it isn't back there yet. Okay? So there is no possible way you can lose weight if you're spiking your insulin all the time. And that's what happened to me from my 20s through to my 40s until I understood at least that I shouldn't have sugar in my system. And then in the preceding years, I've worked out how to lose weight and understand that insulin is the key. Okay. Now, with that, I'll give you an example of my diet. Now, I'm on a carnivore diet, which is meat, eggs, butter, all right, in moderation for flavour and salt. Okay. And you might think, oh God, how could you eat that? It's delicious. Okay. You can have ribeye steaks, you can have prawns, you can have fish, you can have anything that was, meat. And, eggs, you can have them scrambled, you can have an omelette, you can have, sunny side up. Okay. So you've got all of that. And I mix in a little bit of avocado when it's available because that's good oils. And you might have olive oil and coconut oil if you want to while you're cooking and so forth, which is fine. You don't want the seed oils, which is your canola oil and your vegetable oil and all that, because that's basically refined motor oil, basically. Really bad for you. And if you've got sore joints and clicky joints, you know why is because you eat margarine and the vegetable oils and so forth. So from there, because I'm never having sugar, my insulin's only having a small response, and I also mix into that fasting. Now, when you're on a carnivore diet, because you've got not having the sugar spikes, you don't get hungry. I can go all day until 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon without eating, just having water or a black coffee, or a water with a little bit of apple cider vinegar or something in it, which doesn't spike your insulin. I can go all day without feeling hungry. All right, I haven't eaten yet and don't feel hungry because you don't have the highs and lows of the sugar spikes. So fasting is easy. All right, and I've done up to a 14-day fast. I wanted to sort out some health issues, and it did. Because when you intermittent fast, you stop eating at 6 o'clock, don't have any insulin spiking snacks after that. All right. If you want something with flavour, put a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in a water just to give you a taste bud something. All right. But go from 6 o'clock through, skip breakfast and get to lunch. Or if you can stretch it a little bit further, do so. Because after you've finished digesting your food after 4 or 5 hours at night, so 10 o'clock at night, you're on fat burning mode. All right. So you're burning fat all night, all morning, right up to when you start eating the next day. And the longer you push that, the more fat stores you burn. All right. And if you mix that in with, the mature hops extract, which we show you where you can get some of that within the 51-day challenge group, that gives you a thermogenic response and it targets burning of visceral fat straight away. So combine your diet with that, and if you move, sometimes go for a walk or whatever, that always helps. It's not critical that you do so, but it always helps. So there you go. That's the principles of losing weight. So control, understand insulin. If you're trying to lose weight, know that if you have, a piece of bread and butter at 10 o'clock at night, that's going to spike your insulin up here, and you're going to spend all night trying to digest and get rid of that out of your system rather than burning fat. All right. And when you understand that, you start to make better choices. So once you start making better choices and understand what you're on, what the principles are, then it's a matter of having a battle within yourself, your mindset. You're the hardest thing about losing weight sometimes is you. And I understand this because you fall off a wagon and you might think that having a muffin from the local bakery is fine, but it's not. It's just basically you might as well eat 6 spoonfuls of sugar. And what that does is if you're in what's called ketosis, it knocks you out immediately and it takes 3 days to get back into complete fat burning mode. All right, because you spike your insulin up so high, it's going to take a while to come down. All right. And as your body gets adapted, that process can be quicker. But, by having a cheat like that, it quite often turns into, oh, I've had the muffin now, I might as well have a couple of chocolate donuts while I'm at it, which is cooked in vegetable oil and caked with sugar. It's like probably the worst. And then the second worst would be French fries, which are carbs cooked in vegetable oil. So if you're having trouble with swollen joints and knees, that's all right. So you learn that some of these foods just destroy your diet. So once you understand that, I've found that if you've got someone that you're doing it with, that you're accountable to, you're going to make better choices. And now I had this with a mate of mine, which, he's a bit hefty as well. And we said, right, we're going to lose some weight. We're not going to cheat. And if you do cheat and you don't lose the weight you should, then we had a bet. All right, you had to wear the opposite person's bloody team jumper around for a week, which, we hated because we had different teams. And that worked. All right. So that's why we're setting up this community, because it's easier to push through if it's not just you. Because you don't want to let the community down. You don't want to let your friends down, because just one cheat can stuff it up for 3 days. All right. And if you go, I want that donut, and you go, no, I've got a post in the group tomorrow saying I made it, I did it. So you avoid it. You don't have it. Sorry, something's banging outside. So that's why the community. And also within the community, if you're uncertain about something, you have people going through the same situation as you that might have the answer. Or, people like me, I'm not a medical doctor, but I've done so much research, I could probably pass the test, that can answer those questions saying, if I'm eating this, will it affect my insulin? Will it affect what I'm doing? And you can say, oh yes, no, that's got carbs in it. You can try and cut that down or cut it out. But this will be a learning process, because when you first start, you don't know anything, and you've got to work out what you can, what you can't eat, somehow work it into your life in a way that is sustainable. So, we had a couple of people pop through, but I think they must have I don't know um, whether they just found the link or something. But that's the principle of it. Now, I'm starting another 51-day run myself today, because a couple of months back we had a run of birthdays and so forth. Didn't cheat too bad, had a little couple of things that could have done the insulin, but I've just been kind of plateaued, maybe put on a little kilo or two in that period of time. So now it's time to go from where I am, which is way below the 98, 99 kilos that I was. I might be down to 92, 93, maybe 94 on some days. It's time to go from that down to 85, which is back to my playing weight. So if you want to lose a few kilos, you want to become part of a community that's here to support you, absolutely jump in with us. I'll do these Zooms every week. And as more and more people come on, we'll have interviews, we'll answer live questions, we'll do diet roasts. Oh, should I do that one quickly? All right. Now, this is a gentleman in his 70s, all right, who's not extremely overweight, but he's starting to get a bit of a pot belly. We wrote down what he ate, and that's why, and we understand now that's why he's slowly putting on a belly. He would get up early in the morning and grab the paper from outside so no one would steal it. Okay. And for breakfast, he'd have a black tea and oatmeal with either plums or strawberries and sugar sprinkled on top. All right, so let's look at that. Black coffee, perfect, fine, doesn't spike insulin. Oats, carbohydrates. Sugar, plums, strawberries, sugar, and sugar on top. What do you think that does to your insulin at 8 o'clock in the morning? Off it goes. All right, so you're off to a bad start. Okay. Then he'd potter around. He might play golf that day. He'd go out and have lunch before he goes off to there. And sometimes he'd have sardines on toast. All right, let's look at that. Sardines, perfect. All right. Meat, good fats, omega-3s, all right, and protein. Okay. On toast, bread, carbohydrates, sugar, and he would have margarine on it, which is your seed oils. Not good. All right. If you had sardines straight, not a problem. Okay. Um, then he'd go and do golf and he'd have a couple of beers, lights, after the game. Now, what's beers? It's got carbs and sugar in it. All right. That's going to spike your insulin every time. So if you're drinking beer, up you go. Plus, it makes your liver work harder to get rid of the alcohol. All right. So if you're trying to lose weight, losing the alcohol might be a good strategy as well. Because I basically don't drink, not for any other reason that why, you know. And after that, he'd come home and have his evening meal, which would be either a steak or chops or pork with veggies. And he'd always have a combination of potato and pumpkin, and then beans, carrots, and cauliflower or broccoli. All right. Now, potato and pumpkin not as bad as potato, but carbs. All right. Beans have got some carbohydrates in them. Carrots have got some carbohydrates in them. And what was the other one? Cauliflower and broccoli aren't too bad. They've got a very small amount of carbohydrates and more fiber. So, as a general rule, that's fine until he has bread and butter to wipe up the gravy. Now, the gravy has flour in it, okay, which will spike your insulin, and the butter, seed oils, and bread, sugar. So what he's doing is spiking his insulin at dinner time. Now, later that evening, he'll have a couple of glasses of red wine, all right, which probably isn't too bad, but it is sweet. It does spike your insulin. And at the end, he might have another black coffee. Oh, not coffee, black tea. Okay. So in general, that diet isn't too bad. I would prefer he'd have bacon and eggs in the morning instead of oats and, sugar. Um, but after that, it's not too bad. And because it's not too bad, you still are spiking insulin and you will gradually put on the kilos over time. Okay. But a few simple tweaks: lose the bread, lose the margarine, and get real butter. Okay. Skip that porridge breakfast. All right. Have bacon and eggs at 10, 12 o'clock in the afternoon or in the morning before you go to golf. Come home, maybe substitute your pumpkin and potato for a couple of eggs instead. Beans and carrots aren't doing too much. It's a couple of tweaks on what you're actually eating to start getting the results. Because obviously, if he's walking a golf course 1, 2, 3 times a week, you're getting the exercise and movement that you need. So hence why he's probably not like this at the moment. So there's my diet roast. And if you'd like that, in the description of this video, I'll put like a Google Doc or something eventually so that you can run through and list off what you put in your mouth, whether it's food or liquid. All right. Now, here's the thing on that one. I watched a show called Secret Eaters, which is an English show, UK, where they'd write down that list, all right, but then they'd put secret cameras everywhere to get all the stuff that they didn't write down. And, they wonder why they're huge. So, they'd write down that they had this, 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 and this, which is your normal meals. But what they didn't write down was the pack of chips they had after dinner and the half a bar of chocolate at lunchtime and the comfort food they were eating while they were doing movies, which is all the food that was spiking their insulin and packing on the kilos, all right? Because some of these people were really big, all right. And yeah, the hidden cameras just bust them. They might be cooking a meal and they're just chucking stuff in while they're going. So you need to, if you want a real result, you want to have the real data as an input. So if and when you do track what you eat, put down everything. All right. Because there might be one thing that you're doing that's ruining the whole thing. Okay. So down below, do that. And obviously, if you want to be part of our community, there's a 51-day challenge. You just got to put your name and email, and it gives you direct access to the group. For now, we're in our beta stage. We're looking for the first 50 people to come in and join with us before we set up the whole, community, paid community. So you'll get the legacy grandfathered in and always be free for those who start now and get the results, because we want to help people get results as testimonials. So on that, thank you for enduring my first live stream. And I'm sure that I'll get my rhythm down and my and ah and okay as much as what I have today. But these are the things you do when you're trying to help people, okay, including yourself. So, I'm going through this journey as well. I'm halfway through. I've lost half the weight I need to lose. But I invite you to come and join me in my journey and make it our journey and get results for everybody. So on that, be awesome. Andrew out. We'll see you on the inside. Catch you later.